You're probably lying to yourself. You are above average, right? You are smarter than most people. You are a good driver, and you think that you have a bright future ahead of you. Those are probably lies, and they're called above average effect. We do this because it's helpful for us to feel better about ourselves. But it's important to note that we have a worse than average effect too. It turns out that we overestimate our ability when we think things are easy, like riding a bike, but underestimate them when it's hard, like riding a unicycle. Maybe you know you've done it, or maybe you do it subconsciously. Sometimes you do it because you want to protect yourself. Maybe you want to think that good things will happen to us in the future, and that bad things only happen to those around us. We repress painful memories, create false ones, rationalize immoral behavior, and jack up our self-esteem. We deny the truth. When we group together people who oppose capital punishment and people who support it, and they were presented with the facts supporting both arguments, what do you think would happen? Maybe they would agree on some things and get along, just like people with different political beliefs do. But no, the people became even more strident. They distort the information to their prior beliefs, just like what you see when your families argue about politics during Thanksgiving. I was watching Big Fish, a Tim Burton movie, and in the movie, the father tells stories, magnificent stories, at least according to him, but he mixes them up with fiction and he tells stories bigger than they really are. One takeaway is that he does that because life can be mundane and boring, that it is more interesting to be fooled by extravagant stories than to take whatever form life gives as it is. I don't really like that movie. I don't know why. Maybe the ending is kind of beautiful, but I just hate the parts where the father tells fictional stories to his child because it's a bit boring to me and I don't like lying to myself. I want to see the world as it really is, not through tinted glasses of roses. I'd rather be disappointed than lie to myself just to be happy. However, there are certain things where we draw the line. Sometimes it is much better to be happy than just knowing the truth and suffering immensely. But I guess I have to let you draw the line yourself. Everyone is different and I guess you kinda have to figure out where things lie. So yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a nihilist or an absurdist. Not an extreme one though. I just don't like to see life as a big exaggeration than what it really is. I think there's no real purpose on earth, but that doesn't mean that I'm depressed and sad. It just means I acknowledge that and I'm fine with it. And it has its own beauty because you get to find your own meaning in life and not restricted to someone else's version of a purposeful life. I'm not scared that we're all not being judged by something greater because, in a way, it gives us the freedom to do what we want, even though what we can do is limited by society or our biology. In a way, we're free, and I like that. I know for some people, it's sad that we're not meant for something greater, that after we die, there's a chance that we'll be reduced to almost nothing, that you would never meet your loved ones ever again. And gosh, it's very depressing thinking about it. Okay, I almost had an existential crisis writing that, but I'll try not to think about it too much. To many people of faith, the religion is the best and true one. So in a way, other religions are just not true. Some people are simply being lied to by the religion. But how do you know for sure that you're in the right one? That you're not like those that you think are deceiving themselves? You don't know for certain, right? So there's a chance that you're lying to yourself too. We lie because we want to believe that we're meant for something bigger, that merely living and dying on earth is not meant for us, and that we're better than the animals. So we convince ourselves that we're going to heaven, or to make ourselves feel better when our loved ones die, we say that we're going to end up with our family members who have passed away. We don't really know if it's true. I guess I would like it to be, but no one can prove it and no one can really show that it is true. So just cherish your life with the people you love now on earth. Don't wait for the afterlife, because you're probably letting your life pass you by. Anyway, let's talk about something else. Some activities that we engage with, like going on picnics or going to a fancy restaurant, in a way are just make-believe. We're like acting, just performing our roles in society. We bring food to the park and enjoy the evening while feeling good about ourselves. We celebrate New Year every time the Earth completes its rotation around the sun, and we try to look fancy and create weird rules on how to eat because, well, humans are complex. They're not necessary, but we still do it, and sometimes they make us feel good. Not sure if that's lying, but if you think about it, It is pretty weird. Not saying that it's bad though. Some of them are good, and you can do whatever you like as long as you're not hurting yourself or other people. But you can be the judge yourself. Sometimes people do things without really meaning it, like asking, "Are you okay?" out of reflex. I don't really like it when people do that to me. If you just say it for the sake of saying it, don't bother asking in the first place. I'd rather you not ask me if you do that out of manner. I want you to ask things when you really mean it because I don't want to misinterpret people's intentions because I want to care only about people that really care about me. The world is already confusing enough as it is. It's making things harder by saying things you don't really mean. But it's just my personal opinion. To me it seems like hypocrisy. But yeah, I know it's not that simple. The world isn't black and white. Sometimes you have to do that to comfort people, depending on the time and circumstances. And it's not wrong to do it to make people feel better. I even do it sometimes to make people feel better, even though I don't really prefer people doing that to me. Or maybe I do prefer it. I don't know. So yeah, sometimes you're allowed to lie, or even obligated to lie. But why do we do this? Well, sometimes it is good to lie to yourself. You may believe that you are more intelligent and talented than you really are, and that can give you confidence, and people can be fooled into thinking that you are too. Some people do it to cope with problems and challenges, and researchers see this trait as early as the age of 3, and they called it positivity bias. On campus, women who take leadership positions score higher in self-deception, and you might think that you are more attractive than you really are. Let's say you have 3 pictures of your friend. 2 pictures are edited to be more and less attractive, and the last one is untouched. Tell them to choose what they look like, and chances are they would probably choose the more attractive one because we want to think we look good. We do this partly because we want to achieve something biologists call reproductive success. When we fake looking good and be confident when we're not, our mating partner can be fooled, and we get the chance to reproduce. So we get more individuals that are more likely to self-deceive, since the ability to self-deceive may be innate or learned. Hence, a scientist may feel that the results were real despite the use of fraudulent data, or a student may believe they earned their place at a prestigious university despite cheating on a test. In this way, self-deception is a way of protecting our sense of morality. It means that we can continue to see ourselves as good people, even when our actions would suggest otherwise. This form of self-deception might be most relevant to financial advisors, but it could also be important for private healthcare. Despite having good intentions, a doctor could unconsciously deceive themselves into thinking the more expensive treatment was best for the patient without even recognizing their self-deception. So it can be beneficial for us, but not when we take it too far, especially when the lives of others depend on us. In 1982, a Florida Flight 90 took off from Washington, D.C.'s National Airport and crashed into a bridge, killing 74 aboard. What happened? Well, while accelerating, the instruments suggested the plane did not have enough speed for takeoff, and the pilot actually noted that, but he didn't believe the instruments. We don't really know why he behaved that way, but self-deception is believed to be partly responsible for it. Some say the same thing was responsible for the loss of the Challenger and Columbia space shuttles. NASA's leaders persuaded themselves to ignore warnings issued by the scientists deep within the bowels of the place, and we know how it ended. Self-deception with fatal consequences. Even decisions to go to war, which can cost tens of thousands of lives, are often made in a cloud of self-deception. So we can choose to either fight or indulge in our self-deception. It's hard, but I think we can try if we want hard enough and just make the world a less confusing place. Self-deception is very helpful when you try to block negative thoughts because it helps us to become more optimistic, which tends to help us improve our performance. But when it becomes a habit, it provides the basis for more lies. When students were given answer sheets to an intelligence test, they scored higher than the control group. On a second test, they predicted that they would score higher, despite knowing they wouldn't be able to cheat. And guess what? They scored worse. They lead themselves to believe that their previous strong performance was a reflection of their ability. Just as phony war heroes believe they actually won medals for courage, cheaters come to believe their own lies, and they forget very quickly that there were situational factors that helped them. So, try your best to not lie to yourself, and if it's necessary, use it accordingly because it's not always bad to lie either. Thank you.